This Never Throw in the Towel podcast episode is brought to you by UKIM Occupational Health and Wellbeing. They are a healthcare service company with a clear commitment of breaking the stigma and breaking the silence around conversations about mental health. Their mission is to try and tackle the problem with the nation's sick economy with the aim to keep people in work. I just want to say a huge thank you to UKIM for getting behind the Never Throw in the Towel podcast, which is conversations around mindset, mental health, and physical health, with the message of resilience, never giving in, and never throwing in the towel. Our aim is to help and inspire. Thank you. Welcome to the Never Throw in the Towel podcast. So today's guest, this is a Dalton. We're based in Dalton, and this lad is from Dalton. He is soft and gentle on the inside, but he is rough as toast in the cage and in the boxing ring. He is a professional MMA fighter, and he is going on to bare knuckle fighting. And this podcast it's all about mental health and mindset, getting through adversity. And I think a fighter might go through the most highs and lows from a sport. So welcome, Cameron, the Party Hardy.
Thank you very much for having me.
Absolute pleasure. I think it's great to have you on here because there's the nostalgia of like you actually attended the first ever Never Throw in the Towel project retreat that we done, and you actually took the fight. You actually took the fighting. So
yeah.
You kind of like see it grew.
Oh, massively.
Yeah.
Massively.
But I kind of touched on the fighting and stuff. So talk us through, when did you get into kind of martial arts, and was there anything that kind of give you the nudge into getting into martial arts as a young lad?
It's a funny one for me because normally you hear all the backstories of I used to like have all these fights when I was younger, or I was in trouble and stuff like that, whereas I was the complete opposite. Mine actually probably started from when my granddad used to look after me, and all he used to put on was like Karate Kid, Bruce Lee movies. I was obsessed with Bruce Lee. I learned how to do like the nunchucks and stuff like that because of Bruce Lee. And then the first thing that I actually started was karate. And I think I got to something like yellow belt and hurt a girl in sparring, so never went back again.
What, you hit the girl?
Yeah. Well, we were sparring and she started crying, and I was like, I'm not doing this. Like, so, and then it was the typical wanted to be a footballer. And then I started Thai boxing at 11. That was with my best friend at the time, Sam England, who was actually my next door neighbour as well. And so our dads were going, and then me and Sam were going at the same time, and it just sort of progressed from there. But I was still always football. And then it was not long before I joined the Navy at 18 years old. I started getting I was quite good at the Thai boxing, but I started getting really good at it. And I actually tried to organise an MMA fight myself because I seen it on Facebook, and I tried to sort of fight for myself when I was about 17 years old.
And had you done much sparring and stuff, kind of?
Yeah. Still done quite a lot of sparring and stuff. We done sparring in the Thai boxing when I was younger. I was in the adults class at Evolution when I was 14, 15. So I was sparring the adults at 14, 15 year old. Some of them used to give me some right hidings and all. And then it wasn't until I had really my first proper fight was in boxing. And that was when I was in the Navy. And I actually won one of the tournaments that was put on when I was down in Plymouth. And then it was when I was on my first ship, my PO at the time, it was my friend, he trains at a gym, in an MMA gym in Portsmouth. He said, do you want me to get in touch and I can take you down? So I was like, yeah, that sounds good. And then it literally just went from there. I ended up having, I think it was 3 amateur fights and 7 professional fights whilst I was at that gym in Portsmouth. During my time in the Navy, yeah. And
when did it when did trigger of I actually want to have a fight?
After I always wanted to fight because, like I say, I nearly organised that one for myself when I was 17. But then it was after my first amateur fight, I finished him in the 3rd round, and I was like, I'm all right at this, aren't I? I'll give this a good go, and it just sort of went from there.
Yeah.
So was it just down to a completely competitive nature? that you wanted to go in and fight somebody?
I'd say so, yeah. But I was always quite dedicated. I've always been dedicated and disciplined to it. And even when I was from the age of 14, I was training 5 times a week at Evolution. And then even when I was on like half term and stuff, I'd go in on the morning classes as well. So I was training twice a day at that age. So I've always been like dedicated to it. And it was sort of more like, right, I want to test myself now. Like, I don't want to put all this training in just for the sake of training. Like, it was a hobby at the start, and then it just sort of turned to like, right, I want to put this to the test. Like, I fancy a fight.
Yeah, which, you know what I find fascinating about you is because everyone, like even some of the lads on the project, are very they've spoke to me. They're very surprised that you're a fighter.
Yeah,
because like you're so the opposite.
Yeah, personality
wise, like you can get some fighters that the look rough and they kind of have an edge, but you don't have that. Like you don't like it, which I do find quite a very fascinating kind of like trait to have. That you're such like a nice lad, but then there's that huge contrast of getting in the cage. And is it just the test? Like, I want to put this skill set and kind of like compete. Is that what the trigger is?
Yeah, but that's what it was at the start. It was just like I knew I was good at it, and I put a lot of hours, a lot of effort into it. So why not go and test myself? I think I've just got that little bit extra in me that made me want to go and test myself. And you do have to have you have to have it in you to go and be a fighter.
Yeah. Do you think it's you've got to be cut from a certain cloth, or do you think, because you're like, again, I touched on you're an example of like you don't really seem to have them. You're a really nice, placid lad. So do you think anyone can kind of do it, like, or do you think you've actually got to have? There's something in a fighter that there's something different.
I do think there is that little something different that you sort of have to have. You could almost call it a screw loose, to be honest with you. But it's weird, like at our gym at SBG, I've seen lads come in who spar really good and stuff like that, and then in the first fight they're no good.
Yeah.
And then I've seen lads come in and they've been dead quiet, minting sparring, and then they're an absolute animal in the cage.
Yeah.
So it's a weird one. I do think it is one of them that you just have to have it in you.
Yeah.
You do have to have it. You can get so much out of someone, but only so much. The rest has to be in themselves, I think.
Yeah.
So do you see loads of different mindsets in the different gyms?
Yeah, massively. At the end of the day, it all does come down to sort of one mindset, whether you want it or not. But like I say, you've got lads who come in like bouncing about the gym and all that, and then as soon as they get it put on them in sparring, they're no good. Or you just have a nice chilled lad who is just nice and sound, a bit like myself, and then you stick it on them, they'll put it on your back. So I think you do just sort of have to have that little bit inside you, sort of, that you can't really teach. Mm-hmm. You can only teach so much of that. The rest has to be down to yourself.
Aye. And I think it's being able to, a lot of it's being able to kind of be relaxed and implement the skill set that you've learned, but in that pressure situation.
Definitely, yeah.
And how do you kind of feel in the dressing room and stuff beforehand and stuff? What's going on there?
You know what, for me, apart from my last fight, the ones before, I'm never really that nervous on the day. It's more just like, I'm going to kill this person. Do you know what I mean? Like, but with my last fight after the ACL injury, it wasn't until I got started really warming up that I got rid of the nerves. The nerves were still there on fight day until I started warming up and started feeling sharp. Whereas normally beforehand, fight day, I was normally always okay.
Really, aye?
Yeah.
Because the nerves are. I mean, you were in my corner.
Yeah.
It's the nerves in the locker room. I mean, I've only obviously just done it for charity and stuff, but them nerves that you feel, it's a crazy feeling. Like I've done a lot of sports, but nothing touches you.
Nah, nothing compares. You can't. And like, it's funny because you get a lot of people who think like, yeah, I'd be able to do that, but when you walk the walk, it's completely different, and you do see a lot of people crumble. It doesn't matter whether it's a charity match or a world title fight. People will crumble.
Yeah.
And like, that's where you have to have that little bit extra in you to sort of go through with it and put on a show in there.
Would it? Yeah, go on.
Go on, yeah. So you've done this a load before the last fight, but you said the nerves really kicked in. Why? What was different?
It was because I had I think it was 2.5 years out. I'd lost my last 2 before it. So I think if anything, the nerves probably come from, it wasn't the fight, it was losing. Mm-hmm. It was, I didn't want to lose. I really did not want to lose. And that's probably where the nerves come from, and where I put it on myself a bit, because I was just like, you can't lose this. And that's probably where it was. Nothing to do with getting in there and getting punched or getting knocked out, getting submitted, whatever. It was nothing to do with like that, because I know that that's part of the fight game. It was just the losing side of things that I didn't want.
What in terms of what was dependent on it and stuff?
Yeah, sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
And because I'd put that much grafting coming back from my ACL, I was just like, I can't lose this. I've put too much into it.
Do you think there was an element of fear in there?
No.
No? It was just nerves.
Yeah.
That was a strong no as well.
Yeah.
That was a strong
Definitely.
no.
What made you be so dedicated to come back after 2 losses, a really bad ACL? Where did the dedication come from?
Probably the love for it. It was probably the love for the sport. I love every single bit of process of it, from cutting weight.
You do live and breathe it, don't you?
Yeah, just from cutting weight, the training, the graft, the sparring, the good days, the bad days, and it makes you a certain type of person, and I think it makes you a better person as well. And it's just the pure love for the sport. I can't find myself walking away from it. And since my ACL went, I was just focused on getting back and fighting straight away as soon as it did go, before I even got the surgery.
Yeah, and I think a fighter, it's not like football, is it? Where if a team gets beat, they'll go again next week, and they can win.
Yeah.
I don't think it's obviously an individual sport. I can't think of any other sport other than the fighting game, whether that's MMA or boxing. The losses can be, they can be huge lows, can't they?
Oh, huge! It's like people say, it can be the loneliest sport in the world. I've been quite lucky in the fact, whether I've won or lost, I do have a lot of people there for me still. I know I've seen things where, I can't remember what boxer it was that he said he had hundreds of missed calls after he won. And then when he lost, he had 3, which was from his mum or something like that.
Right.
But I think because of the type of person that I am as well, win or lose, I do sort of have everyone there for me, and I do have good backing by friends and family. So I'm quite fortunate in that sense. But
yeah.
When you lose, it's still lonely. It doesn't matter, especially within the first few weeks of the fight. It doesn't matter what anyone says. You're going to beat yourself up no matter what.
Aye.
I think obviously we've got you on social media, and for anybody else who does, they'd imagine you've got a bed in the corner of the gym, because you are in there constantly.
I mean, he's rocking abs. 12 months.
12 months a year, yeah. But how do you think that plays for your mindset and your mental health? Because you said yourself, you're not really affected by poor mental health, but you think the gym has a massive impact on that?
It's probably the biggest impact. And for anyone out there who is sort of suffering and isn't going to the gym, one thing I can guarantee is that if you go to the gym and you put effort in the gym, that mindset will soon sort itself out. I honestly can't. For example, my girlfriend, she not long lost a job a few months ago, and she started smashing the gym a little bit more, and her mindset's been absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. For someone who's not had a job and constantly having to look for a job and stuff like that, it's a tough place to be, because I've been there myself after I left the Navy, and it was horrible. But she kept in the gym, and her mindset's been fantastic, and I've just seen it even in her, and I've seen it in lots of people as well, lots of friends and stuff like that, where I've recommended the gym, and I've even brought people to sessions with me and stuff like that to try and help them out. Mm-hmm. And the difference is unbelievable.
Oh,
like
yeah.
I can even, let's say I've had an argument with her or something's happened through the day. I'll walk in SBG. By the time I come out, it's like nothing's happened.
Yeah.
Someone's been knocked out.
But no, honestly,
three lads asleep in the gym.
it's like nothing's happening. And I'm sat singing on the way home to music and stuff like that.
No.
It's just, it's unbelievable. It's like, it's probably, I would say, the best thing.
Yeah.
So you train people as well, and you put on classes. So you see different people coming into the gym. Some people are really confident about coming into the gym. Some people are really shy. Some people fear going to the gym. What would you say to the people that, you know, maybe are hesitant to walking into the gym?
You've got to put yourself in uncomfortable situations to be comfortable. If you just sit there and you don't go to the gym and you just think about it, you're not going to get nowhere. Or that first step is the hardest. Mm-hmm. Getting to the gym is the hardest. Once you're in the gym, it's easy.
Yeah.
Once you get into that gym, and then especially once you start getting into the rhythm of it, you're just like, why was I scared?
And I think what you especially MMA gyms and boxing gyms, you can kind of, especially if you're a total beginner, you can kind of be a little bit scared to go. But actually, from my experience attending them, they're some of the most friendliest places you can go. Especially like
100%.
You go into SBG, where Davy Grant's gym, and I remember going there. Davy Grant's UFC fighter, like I'm a fan. You go in there and and then you've obviously got Cam, the most friendliest. I remember as soon as Davy came, "Hi mate, you all right? How's it going?" Just super friendly, isn't it? Where you can kind of like in your head, like, oh God, going to an MMA gym, it's like fighting and stuff. And actually it's the most friendliest good guys you could ever meet.
That's the only problem with sort of like your combat sports gyms is people think they're gonna turn up, like say they come to SBG for example, they think they're gonna be sparring me and Davey for an hour and get their head punched in. It's not like that at all.
I mean, you've punched my head in a couple of times.
I enjoyed it.
That's why I haven't been.
But no, like that. But it's made like that's a small, tiny part of it, and you don't have to do it. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it.
No, it is
like
it's
our gym. If you don't even rock up with a gum shield, you're not sparring headshots.
Yeah.
Do you know?
No,
what
it's
I mean?
good. I remember the first time I went sparring on a Friday night. You like came with you, and just before you've got total mixed levels, haven't you?
Yeah.
And before you start sparring, Dave just does a big announcement like, "Look, if you want a light spar, it's light. If you kind of stick it on someone, you're going to get it back."
Exactly.
But you can just totally kind of like, if you want just work on movement or anything like that, or if you just want it light, you can actually do that. You don't have to like, you know, if you don't, heads aren't going to be taken off.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
That's it.
I did a white collar boxing fight about 7 years ago now, and I've always loved boxing. And my younger brothers,
You still say you're undefeated, aren't you?
I'm 1-0. I'm undefeated. I retired. I got out when it was going good. I'm not stupid. But like, I watched my brother, you know, fight for a long time in the army, and he did really well. And I thought I always wanted to do it. And I walked in there, and I still remember the guy. It was Paul Hubber, and he put his arm around us. I was the skinniest, scrawniest lad in there, and I was looking, and there was like big beefy blokes and everything. I was like, you know, I was petrified. But after a couple of sessions, I was hooked. Don't get us wrong, I did the fight. I walked away and I've never been back. But like, just for like anybody thinking about it, you know, getting into that white collar scene, it was amazing for me. It gave us a lot of confidence. Don't get me wrong, I was nerves, fear. I felt everything prior. Like, I don't know how you keep getting up and going back and back and back. And your fights are brutal as well.
Yeah.
I mean, talk to us about your next fight coming.
Yeah, so my bare knuckle debut on BKFC. To be fair, I think it's better suited to my style as well. I'm not scared to take a shot, and I like to give a shot. So I think it works absolutely perfect for me. It's a massive show. They're huge in America, so they're going to start being really big in England, I think, as well. Conor McGregor's just bought into it. So it's only going to get bigger as well, and like you say, I'm looking forward to it. It's another challenge. Any type of fight, and I'll give a go because I just love it.
And where's it at?
Newcastle, June the 8th.
Fab.
And when did you start flirting with the idea of like bare knuckle?
Well, I was going to. I was trying to get matched for a show, an MMA show, which is a week before, and I couldn't get matched, and I knew there was this one in Newcastle. So I said to Davey, I was like, look, try and get me on that. And he managed to get me on it. And then it just sort of went from there. Like you say, it's something that I've always liked the idea of.
Really, aye.
But because I've always been into the MMA, it's just not something that I've went on and fully pursued. But then when I sort of was struggling to get matched, I was just like, fuck it, I'm gonna go for this.
Obviously, there's a big difference. There's a lack of gloves. Mm-hmm. But what else is different to boxing, MMA, and bare knuckle?
So I think it's better suited to MMA fighters than it is boxers.
Is it?
Because boxers are used to taking shots on the gloves, and the honestly, even though let's be honest, there's not much difference really between a boxing glove and a bare knuckle.
Well, I remember
in terms of like size and stuff like that.
Well, remember when you gave me a go of your cage warriors, the yellow glove, and I remember going like, oh, this is just literally to protect your knuckles.
Yeah,
there's not much.
Nah. So like defense wise, it suits MMA fighters better because the way we have to defend is not completely different to boxers. But it is very different.
Yeah.
Like when I sparred Ben the other day, we had a few rounds in the little gloves, just going steady, and he said he could not believe the difference in it.
Really?
Yeah. He was like, I can't believe how different it is.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think obviously, especially when it kind of comes to blocking, like that, you're gonna have a 10-inch glove.
Yeah.
You're gonna block a shot that might not.
Yeah. If you're like, for example, if you're just holding it there, that glove's gonna protect your full head.
Yeah.
But if I just hold it there, that bare knuckle's gonna hit my temple. So you have to be spot on with the defense. So that's why I think it suits MMA fighters much better.
Yeah. And do you think you've got to be a bit more like with head movement and stuff, or is it kind of what are you actually doing in regards to blocking?
No, definitely you still definitely need all your head movement and stuff like that. And I mean, in gloves as well, I don't mind taking a shot to give a shot, whereas bare knuckle you can't really do that because obviously bare knuckle
it's the cuts, isn't it?
Yeah, it's exactly
that. Like you said, I think the
4-ounce
glove, in terms of impact, probably round about the same, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's the cuts. I mean, I've seen some of the pictures after they've had a 5-round bare knuckle war. Some of the faces look like they've been in a car crash.
No, I'm going to a beef for the Thursday after, so I'm all right.
I was just going to ask. I mean, obviously you're a good-looking lad. Are you not worried about?
Yeah. Have you ever thought about? Have you ever?
Yeah.
Just thinking about the cuts. What's your girlfriend say?
She's not happy. She's not happy. My mum's passed herself.
Oh, mate, your mum.
Yeah.
I mean, like I'm wanting to come to the fight. I want to come, but like, God knows how your mum feels because I love the boxing. I love boxing. I love MMA. Love watching the UFC. I'll be honest, the bare knuckle kind of like it's never really kind of like massively kind of got my huge because it's kind of
savage, isn't it?
It is like it is. I'm even kind of like thinking, wouldn't want to see you get punched in the face bare knuckle. But
it's just like the worst scar on my head's off a toilet seat. So,
oh no, was that after a fight?
Yeah. That was after I come out the fight and I had no marks on me. We went out in Birmingham, got wrecked, and I was still pissed as a fart in the morning. Slipped in the shower and hit my head off the toilet and had to get 10 stitches. So that was a brilliant hangover.
I think every mess up that you do, that a lot of the time a lad does, it's normally always booze related, isn't it?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Where's your inspiration come from? From the gym, from fighting? Has there been somebody in your life that's really truly inspired you to?
Well, my dad, he's always been into it, and that's probably one of the biggest reasons why I started. And then inspiration-wise, it's just sort of been through myself. Just like I've just always put the graft in, and just always wanted to test myself and push myself. There's never been, obviously you have like your favourite UFC fighters and stuff that, but it's more so been, I want to push myself and see how far I can go myself. And that's where the inspiration's been. And I just want to do as best as I can. And that's where it comes from, I think.
And we touched on, I think a fighter's journey can be up and down. Has there ever been a point where you've got, and we all get it, that kind of like, that voice where it's like, let's just call it a day, let's give up. Is that ever kind of came into play where you kind of like having to dig deep into your mindset?
Yeah, after my ACL.
Was it?
Yeah, after my ACL. Because obviously through sponsors and stuff like that, money's not the best and things like that. And then after my ACL, it took like 8 months to get the surgery. And then it was 16 months after the surgery, I had a fight. So it's a long time off, long time off. And there was just parts where like you think your knee's okay, then it's not okay.
And you have and you've got a lot. You've obviously mentioned the sponsors as well, but then you've got, because everyone, like, you know, everyone knows you as a fighter.
Yeah.
And you've all. I'm imagining kind of like. I mean, I experienced it when I was kind of like when I had the Big Brother fame and stuff. It was kind of like everyone wants to know what's next, what's you up to, what's happening, and that's kind of always the question. And it can be hard, isn't it?
Yeah. Very hard. Like you say, that was probably one of the toughest times of my career, definitely, if not the toughest. And then the other time as well was actually after my last fight. I walked out the cage, went round the back, cried and said I was done.
Aye. Well, I remember speaking to you.
Yeah, I cried and I was just like, I'm done. I was like, I went through it was like you say, 8 months, and then it was 16 months of graft to get to that point. To then batter someone for 1 minute and 50 seconds, have a shit 10 seconds and lose a fight. So I was just like, I can't keep doing this.
What made you get up the next morning and do it again?
Friends and family, they were just like, look, you can't.
And how long was the kind of the period where you were kind of you know, thinking about throwing the towel in and kind of thinking, you know,
probably a good month after the fight.
Was it?
Yeah, a good month after the fight. It like you say, it was tough. It was really tough. I think it helped the fact that Christmas was coming up and we had a holiday to Thailand booked and stuff like that. So it was like a nice time to chill out, regroup, and then sort of like pick yourself back up and go again.
Yeah. And where you're at now then, what's the kind of the goals then? Where do you see your career kind of like still in the mix with the MMA game, or you're going to play it by ear?
I'm just sort of going to play it by ear. I actually see myself doing really well in BKFC.
I think so. Like I do think it's very suited to your style.
So I'm just sort of see how this fight goes, and then go from there, because there's real good money in BKFC.
Yeah.
So if that's what I'm going to do well in, then that's what I'll probably pursue. But the MMA is always there as well. I'm always going to be training at SBG. I'll still be doing my jiu-jitsu and stuff like that. So it's not like I'm going to get skill fade in MMA either. Just when I have these BKFC fights, I'll be doing more boxing in the camp.
And is that literally all it is? You just tailor it off just to kind of just doing the boxing and the stand-up?
Yeah.
Have you ever had any of just kicking anyone in the head?
I was actually going to ask that.
I actually wasn't the last time. I think it was a couple of spars ago with Ben. The way he moved and the way I moved, I went to fling a spinning back fist.
No way.
Yeah, like I actually span.
And by the way, is that against the rules with boxing?
Yeah.
You're not allowed to do a spinning.
Nah.
Right, okay.
I actually span.
Did you?
Yeah. And then I've done it a few times on the pads where I've hit pads, and then the way I've moved, I've been a bit close and went to elbow.
Because Davey Grant loves a spinning back.
Yeah.
He loves a spinning fist, doesn't he?
Yeah. So it's just because it's almost because it's that ingrained in you.
Yeah. Muscle memory.
I'm in that little position, there, boom, the spin's there.
Yeah.
So it was just a natural, quick reaction.
Yeah.
So is it quite tough to transition then from the MMA to BKFC?
It is.
Yeah.
It not so much tough, but you do have to transition a little bit.
How many rounds is it?
It's 5 2-minute rounds.
5 2-minute rounds.
Yeah.
Ah, right, okay.
So your cardio's there, your fitness, you're comfortably there.
Oh yeah,
So
massive.
your work,
But it is also a faster pace.
right?
Is it?
So yeah, so you've got to remember that as well. Like it is going to be a faster pace because when you know you've got a 5-minute round, it's unlikely that you're going to go out there and just try and blast.
Yeah.
Unless you catch them or something like that. But with this one, because you know you've only got 5 2-minute rounds, it's going to be a bit more of a faster pace.
And it's is the kind of like the professionalism there as well, because a lot like what are these bare knuckle fighters? Is a lot of them kind of like they've transitioned over because the stereotypically look they look rough lads.
It's a mixture. It's a mixture.
Is
So
it?
you've got ex-boxers, ex-MMA fighters, and then you have just got some good, tough, rough lads who like to fight. But obviously what you can expect from ex-professional MMA and boxers is that they'll be putting the graft in for the fight.
Yeah.
I don't really know any of the other lads that don't, but if you know you've got a fight coming up, you know you're putting in graft to train for it.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing worse than losing. So I'm pretty sure with that. Still, and like BKFC, it's a massive stage. It's probably the biggest stage for bare knuckle.
Is it?
Yeah. So to get a fight on there, you know you're going to be putting in the effort. So and I've actually heard that it's a very, very well run show.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Right.
fantastically run show.
Right.
Has your opponent fought in it before?
No.
It's his debut as well.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
But he's done
MMA.
MMA in the past. Have you studied his MMA?
We've had a look at his fights.
Yeah.
Obviously, you have to, don't you? You have to sort of see what you're expecting. But same again, it's like that's MMA. It's not boxing.
Yeah.
So it could come completely different. You don't know. You've just got to be prepared for the rest.
Yeah. I can see in your face you're like excited for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind maybe it's a white collar with 16-ounce gloves and some head guards. But
Some boxer size at the retreats.
yeah. And when is it again? What's the date?
June the 8th. So it's 3 weeks tomorrow.
3 weeks. Yeah, I'm unfortunately away for it. I'm actually in Rome that day. I'm gutted because I missed your last fight because I was away as well. So, yeah.
In what's the weight?
So I was originally meant to fight at bantamweight, which is 61.7 kg. So it's still sort of the MMA weight.
Is it?
Yeah, but I'm fighting at featherweight, which is 66.2. So as soon as
How many pounds is that?
145.
145.
So as soon as I found out that I was going up a weight, I went straight to 5 guys. Yeah.
Is that because of the change of opponent?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's like, I think he's about 38-year-old. So he's like at the back end of his career. So he's not a huge featherweight. I think he just doesn't want to, because he used to fight at flyweight and bantam in MMA. Obviously, being that age, you don't really want to be doing big weight cuts and stuff like that. So it's not like I'm fighting a huge featherweight.
Yeah.
I think he's a bit smaller than me. I think it'll be the first featherweight fight I've ever had where they'll be smaller than me.
And it's going to be less about agility and probably more about power. Would that be fair to say?
No, I think it'll be a bit, because obviously even though it's bare knuckle, you've still got to be sharp. You've got to be on them toes, and the head movement's got to be good and stuff like that. And I've actually seen a few podcasts and stuff off like the likes of Mike Perry and stuff like that. Is like you can't put everything into every shot, because if you put everything in every shot and you're clipping around the side of their head and their forehead, you're going to wreck your hands.
Well, look at the success. Look at the success he's had. Like it like you said, it touches on what you said. There's a lot of similar, and it's being from the MMA is a great transition. But Mike Perry wasn't obviously he fought in the UFC, so he was obviously high level.
Yeah.
But in terms of like the people he's beat, I think like Rockhold, he beat MVP.
Yeah.
And
Just beat Thiago Alves.
Did he? Oh, right.
Yeah,
Okay. When was that? Was that just recent?
A few weeks ago, yeah.
Aye. So it just kind of shows you, like, and obviously he's such a rough.
Talking about screw loose.
Yeah.
Like that's a man with a screw who just does not give a shit.
No.
Does not give a shit.
No. And it does look like I've not watched loads of them, but there doesn't look much feeling out periods when the bell goes.
Yeah.
There's not much kind of like
Well,
seeing
in
what
BKFC,
they look
you
like.
have to start. There's a marker in the middle of the ring that's 3 feet apart. So it's probably from the end of this table to the end of that table.
Right.
And your front foot has to be on it. Then the ref's like, go.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Also, it's
So
like...
So you're
It's
engaging from
starting
the off.
in the action.
No warm-ups.
So
just-
one little mistake that it could be done there and then.
Also, it's really, really, really tailored to absolutely having a tear
Oh
on.
yeah. Definitely.
Wow. That is absolutely... You're a madman.
Yeah.
And talk to us. I'm going to have a little bit of a plug of the Never Throw on the Towel project and stuff, and because what's your take? What's because I know you've like me and you've done a nice bath, not together.
Yeah.
I went over to yours, but you obviously and your ex forces as well. What's kind of like, you've supported the project. What's kind of tickled you to get involved in the Never Throw on the Towel project?
It's just for a great cause, isn't it? And like I say, I've never actually been to a very low point in my life. Like we touched on, like after the ACL and stuff like that. That for me was low, and it doesn't just because someone's got a worse low than you. It doesn't mean to say that you weren't low at that time.
Yeah.
And it's projects like this that really do bring the best out in people. Even in the group chat that we've got going and stuff like that you see, even the little wins in that push me a little bit.
Aye.
And I'm the professional fighter, and seeing people do things in that makes me want to go and do things.
Yeah.
So the fact that you've got like a group of men who are willingly open to speaking about stuff, and just bettering each other. It's the fact that we're all there and we're all there to like help better each other, because if you're on your own and you're stuck in that little rut, it's such a hard place to get out of. Whereas if you've either got people in the same place as you, or people who were in that place and got out of it, the motivation's unbelievable.
Oh,
and
yeah.
all of it comes down to mindset. It's just all mindset. So when you've got people around you with that good mindset, when you're not, you'll soon pick up that good mindset. It's like you always see them types of quotes where it's like surround yourself with successful people and you'll become successful.
Yeah.
It's the same sort of thing with this. Surround yourself with people who are wanting to change, who have changed and stuff like that, then you will as well.
Yeah, no, it's 100%. It's interesting that you said that. I seen something recently, and they were actually touching on how the biggest factor of kind of like how you are is actually your environment.
100%.
And that's
100%.
so true what you've said there. If you're kind of around a bad circle, negativity, toxic, it fundamentally that'll play the biggest part of how you are. So it's kind of that's the importance of a good community, good family, good friends.
That's why this is amazing, because
brotherhood.
You've got you two guys leading it who are fantastic at it. You're great motivators and stuff like that. And then some of the lads who will come along are fantastic lads and stuff like that. And I've even seen from the start of the walk to the end of the walk the difference in people. Because I pay little attention to like little things like that. Without having to say anything.
Yeah.
And especially the difference after the ice bath or like the cold water therapy.
Yeah.
The difference of people once they've started that walk compared to when they finished the walk, they've done a little bit of boxing. Everyone's laughing their heads off when they're doing the boxing. That's nothing to be scared of, because it's nothing like that. Everyone's literally loving it, doing this little bit of boxing.
Yeah.
And then when they're jumping in the lake or the river or whatever, then they get out. There's not one person there who looks sad.
No,
Not
absolutely.
one person. You can see there's some shy people there at the start or whatever. Everyone's finished that boxing or got out that river or that lake. Everyone's buzzing with life. Absolutely buzzing.
Yeah, no, it's totally true. And I remember when I first had the idea, it was kind of like I'd done it because I thought it was a good idea. But in terms of the things that I put in the project and into the retreat, they were just kind of selfishly the stuff that I was into.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I kind of thought, well, right, let's go on a walk. that'll naturally lead to talking.
Yeah.
I love boxing. I'm a huge fan of boxing. I love doing it. We'll implement some boxing. Right. I love the cold water. I'd love jumping in. I love doing the cold water. Right. But we need to. I know the importance of the breath work.
Yeah.
Right. We'll do some breath work, and then we'll get in the cold water dip, and then kind of seeing how actually the circle of the retreat.
Yeah.
From the walk finishing off to the cold water, actually kind of like it totally works perfect.
Well, like we touched on at the start, like I said, anyone who's struggling who doesn't go to the gym, I get them into the gym. So that's the boxing element side of it.
Yeah.
And then even for me personally, I know there's a little bit of a stigma, like people like jumping in ice baths and people are taking the piss out of you for posting it and stuff like that.
I am that guy. Like
I'm that guy as well. I'm that guy as well.
An ice bath banker.
Like taking away from that though, what it does do for you is absolutely insane. And it's going back to what I said earlier as well, is making yourself uncomfortable till you're comfortable.
100%.
That like even if you do 30 seconds, that little win of jumping in that cold bath is a win.
100%.
And then the feeling that you get coming out of it from that cold water, there's nothing else like it. I've done all sorts in my time, and there's nothing that can compare to that.
Yeah.
It's the way I was in one this morning before I come here.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I do it a lot for recovery.
Yeah.
Mine is mainly based around recovery.
Yeah.
But if I'm feeling a bit shitty or I'm stuck in a little rut, I'll get in an ice bath.
Yeah.
And your mindset goes from being a lazy bastard to like, right, what do I need to do today? Especially if you do it on the morning. For me, if you do it on the morning, I am ready to attack that day.
Yeah. And also like I think the boxing's really important because like I think one, it's a lot of fun, great for fitness, and the boxing was probably the only thing that we had maybe a few negative stuff about it, like, I don't want to, like, you know, there was one guy in particular.
Too masculine.
Yeah, one guy was kind of like, he was saying, oh, well, I don't know whether it's kind of like in line with brotherhood and stuff. And I was going, but I kind of totally think different. And I'm like, because I think, well, one, it's great. Like, it's a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. But two, actually, like, I think everyone, males, females, whoever, probably should have an idea of how to defend themselves. Do you know what I mean? I think it's just like, I think you probably should learn how to swim, but I think at least know a simple technique of how to block a shot.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what I was I was kind of pushing back, going, look, I know boxing might not be for everyone, but it's kind of like, no, but actually what we're about is it's a lot of fun. You're actually a lot tougher than you think, especially with the cold water as well. Trust me, you can do things. Yeah. Like you've touched on many times before. It's all about the mindset. Yeah.
And the thing is as well, the way you do the boxing as well, no one gets hurt.
No, absolutely not.
It's like pads and then a bit of fun touching your shoulder and knees and stuff like that. So like you're not going to get hurt, so you don't have to worry about getting hurt. And you are learning a skill.
Yeah.
You're learning a skill and it's fun.
Yeah.
And do you know what? That's where the names come from. You know, we've had yourself on the first one. You did. I was actually an attendee on the first one. Yeah. We were. You know, we went along to help a mate. You did the first one. And then we've obviously had Troy there as well, a professional boxer, to do a boxing class, which just elevates the boxing and it gives you that extra bit of grit for it. Yeah. You know, but like you say, it's fun. It's actually an exciting thing to do at the retreat.
Yeah.
And again, putting yourself in that uncomfortable zone. Like, just like you're still making yourself feel uncomfortable, but you're not going to get hurt. So it's another win again. It's another win. Just 100%. these little wins. So you've done a little win doing the boxing, and then you're getting a win jumping in the cold water as well. And maybe you've talked about something on the walk as well, so that's another win. So you're racking up these wins straight away, which helps that mindset straight away.
Yeah, 100%. Like I've done the cold water consistently this year, and it's probably the best year I've had in terms of me performance.
Yeah.
You know, I'm in me mood and everything, and I don't think it's a coincidence because of the cold water. So before it's been a cracking chat. We finished off. I'll let you finish it off. You do the last. You do the last.
Are you
question.
sure? Yeah.
You do the last question.
So to finish it off, we like to ask you your best story. I'm going to leave it at that. Something you can say on a podcast. All right?
Yeah, there's probably plenty of stuff I couldn't say on the podcast.
We'll discuss that later.
Best story.
Yeah, where Party Hardy came from.
Yeah. Obviously, I've had a lot of good experiences with Davey going out to the UFC. That for me was a massive one. Obviously, being a big fan of it since 11, 12, 13-year-old, and then actually being in the corner of Davey's fights that was something special. And the first one that I did go as a corner, I was actually the main cornerman.
No way.
Yeah, because
Where was that?
Fight Island.
No way. Oh yeah.
And Davey,
when it was COVID.
yeah, and Davey was the first ever fighter on Fight Island.
Really?
It was the first fight on Fight Island.
Wow.
Yeah. And obviously that was a huge thing because it was during lockdown and stuff like that. And I'm posting videos of me in a jet ski whilst everyone's stuck at home and stuff like that. So that was probably up there with one of my best moments. But I've also, it's not the best story, it's a funny story. We were out in Vegas and after we weren't meant to go drinking, and we went out drinking after one of his fights.
Of course.
And next thing you know, I can't remember the night, and I woke up in a hospital bed in Vegas at the time I was meant to be flying back.
You're joking.
So that was like the hangover. Yeah, so I've had a few good experiences with the UFC. So, but yeah, that's probably up there. And then one for Poppy, meeting Poppy.
Yeah.
God, keep it sweet before you jump in that ring.
Safe.
No, we appreciate that. We get it. But well, Cameron, thanks for sharing that.
No, thank you for having me. And like you say, it's a fantastic project. Anyone watching it who hasn't been, you have to get yourself down, because like you say, it's unbelievable. And you could be feeling on top of the world, go there and I can guarantee you'll feel even better. Or you could be stuck in this little rope thinking, do I not go? Just go, and I can guarantee your mindset will change 100%. It's fantastic.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Every guest, never thrown the towel.
Thank you very much. Thank you,
Top
lads.
man.
Thanks, Cam.
Thank you very much.
All the best in your fight.
Thank you.